Hope you enjoyed those. Well, one was the features trailer for Legion, so that one's got to be pretty good. And then the other one was I hope you enjoyed it. It seemed like it was pretty funny, interesting.
Jimmy went to go play EverQuest. And then at the end of the video, guys like, EverQuest sucks. So, you know, just poking fun, guys. Don't worry, we're still on EverQuest. Shh. We love you.
Guess what?
What?
Legion will be out before you do next.
Oh, snap.
I don't think is that in the notes for because I don't think that's
Well,
Do you think I'm wrong?
No, but what's funny though is that I have a rule, a private rule. No release date, no hype. I'm not allowed to hype anything until there's a release date. And I don't mean
anymore.
Yeah, ever again. Like, you want to talk Fallout 4? We can hype the crap out of Fallout 4. There's a release date. They said, here's the game, here's the release date on the same day. Like, props. Man, you know, that's awesome. But like No Man's Sky, I was really, really hyped about that game in 2013. Or 2014. Sorry, 2014. It's now halfway through.
Next in 2013.
Is it?
Yeah. Go on.
I was gonna say, WildStar was mentioned all the way back in like 2007 when WildStar was initially mentioned. So, given the time frame on when that was actually released, but I got to give them credit. They didn't just go out and keep, you know, dropping little news nuggets. Like when it was time for coming up to release, that's when they hyped it up. So, it's all about how you advertise.
So, thoughts on Legion. I want to throw this one out there first because I think it's a very valid criticism. And what's funny is that the person who brought this up, who first started playing Warcraft during Warlords of Draenor. So he's a relatively new player, and he's like, Illidan, the Legion, aren't we isn't Blizzard recycling is recycling thing, you know, like this is nothing new. We've seen this all before. And I can't argue. It sounds like pretty valid criticism to me before. It's we've seen Illidan before, we've seen the Burning Legion before. How exactly is this new and different?
We haven't seen the Broken Isles since Warcraft 3. So
and one of the devs, when asked if Illidan would be a good guy or a bad guy,
yeah.
They said that Illidan's going to be pretty pissed when he wakes up, but he's going to be helping us.
Well, they never clarified of how he'll react when we first meet him when we ask him for help, so he's going to be a little pissed.
Oh, do you blame him? I don't blame him.
I don't blame either, but and real quick, for the people that do not know, like just in case you don't know, maybe you came into WoW later on, maybe Mr. Wrath. Illidan, if Illidan's lore is that he's a night elf. He was born with amber eyes, and that's very rare amongst night elves. And anybody with amber eyes, he was described as a player who would be. A character who, as a person who would save Azeroth, and he had a difficult time finding his place, in the world, and so we never really, like, when he became, a demon, he gave up a lot. He gave up his soul. He gave up his, to get the power he needed. He always believed that to fight the Legion, he needed to fight fire with fire. And so Illidan was never given the chance to really save Azeroth, so his storyline was never truly finished. He's just been in jail, waiting for a long, long time.
Yeah. One of the other criticisms I have about their... it's a little bit of recycled concept, and it's a little bit of Deus Ex Machina. When we talk about Titans, they had the Halls of Stone and the Halls of Lightning for the Titans, and then they have the Halls of Origination, and now we have the Pillars of Creation. And I'm like, all right, how many devices did the Titans have to build the world? Because have we not discovered them all? Do we not know about them all? Because it's whenever they need something new, they're like, oh, the Titans built it, and it's right over here. And they all, the Halls of Stone and the Halls of Lightning, the Ulduar, the whole Storm Peaks, it was all like, oh, this is where the Titans were hanging out at. This is where they built things. There's the Hall of Wisdom, or I forget if it's the Hall of Wisdom or the Temple of Wisdom, but it's in that zone in Storm Peak. And then when they released Uldum, we find out that here's the Halls of Origination, and this is where they built everything, and this is where they started and now we've got, oh, look, we've got the Pillars of Creation. And I'm like, come on. Like,
granted, the Pillars of Creation were there always.
Right. But it's kind of like, do you understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah, I know. I absolutely, I do. I understand. They keep, there are so many old gods and Titans. There are a lot. There's not just one. There are many. So there's 6 old gods, 7 old gods, something like 7, but I don't know. They're always possibly what is it Blizzard says, like there's 7 that we know of.
Yeah, I think that they would have to retcon what they've said about that, because I don't think it's that we know of. I think that it was like there's 7 old gods. We've seen 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, we've seen some of them multiple times. So,
all right. Anyway, so that's a little bit of my criticism about Legion is and that's not. We saw a lot of Legion. It is an entire expansion worth of content, and that, like, going back to our criticism over Warlords of Draenor, the Burning Legion, the Return of Illidan are all pieces of a story, but we're also finding out about the Titans and that part of the story, and we're also learning a little bit more about the Night Elves in that story, a little bit more about the world of Azeroth in general that we didn't know before. More specifically, there isn't recycled content. We have been asking for the Emerald Dream ever since there were those 4 dragons standing outside of the portals. And we're like, well, what's behind the portal? You can't just put a portal to the Emerald Dream in the world and then not let us go through it.
Not even for a chance. And it sucked too, because you would just stare at those dragons like, can I go in? Nope, but I wanna.
Right. And that was always one of the things that I thought that after Mists of Pandaria that would be, it's going to be the Emerald Dream expansion.
He really
every expansion. No, since like after BC, Emerald Dream. Nope, Wrath. All right, well I'll take it. Arthas. All right, Emerald Dream. No, Cataclysm. Okay, I'll take it. Oh no, this one's bad. All right, Emerald Dream. No, Pandaria. I'll take that one. I'll take Pandas. Emerald Dream. No, Draenor. God damn it! I'm done.
Well, and the cool thing is that even though that it's not an entire Emerald Dream expansion like I thought it would be, they have told us basically that we are going to finally confront the Emerald Nightmare. I have my beliefs on what that is. I think that, like we were talking about the old gods, I think that one of the old gods decided to hide from the Titans in the Emerald Dream. Because there's enough hints about it in the lore that it's possible. And so I think that's really cool. That is not a recycled bit of story. That's something new and exciting that we get to see again.
Absolutely.
I think
that, I was gonna say that makes me excited to raid the Emerald Nightmare.
Right?
Like, I actually legitimately want to raid the Emerald Nightmare, and as a group, like I want to do it. I don't want to do like the crappy, dungeon finder. I actually want to legit raid like 10 or 25, like with a group of people. Like I want to get in there, get my hands dirty.
Right, and that's and like going back to the difference between Mists of Pandaria and Warlords of Draenor, Siege of Orgrimmar. Garrosh made so many people angry. It was a pleasure to log in and run that instance to go and try and kick his ass because you were just so pissed off at him. Same thing with Wrath of the Lich King. Like ever since you played the tabletop game, or not the tabletop game, the RTS, you're like, Arthas is gonna get his, and like finally we got it.
Same with Illidan. Like even though Illidan and Arthas fought, like you still like when Illidan popped up for Burning Crusade, you're like, oh, this could be awesome.
I didn't feel any of that for Warlords of Draenor. Not a single freaking one. I'm like, dude, I don't care. Because the first raid instance is ogres, and it's like, no.
Like from a lore person, because I love the lore so much. As a lore person, it was cool to see Gromash, his father. Like it was cool, even though it's an alternate timeline. It's cool to see like how Draenor was before it was outlined. It's like there's little things that are cool. Is it a good expansion? No. But cool, like on a cool lore factor, there is some cool things there. You get to see Chromash, you get to see the iron, like the different things. Like before, like Gromash was actually kind of good and actually advised Thrall and stuff like that. Like you get to see an evil version of Gromash and all those things. You get to see Gul'dan and all. Like those are cool.
Oh yeah.
Like that is so cool that it's actually in game. And they did it so like it almost feels like even though they've have retconned stuff before, this didn't retcon anything. Like it's like they even said alternate timeline. Everything you do doesn't mean shit, but everything you're doing.
Does that mean that Murad isn't really dead then? Because that would make my soul happy.
I would like to say he isn't.
Spoiler.
You know what's funny? I would almost compare WoW in the sense of a comic. Never believe anyone's truly dead. Yeah, because you never know when they can come back.
Oh, when are they bringing Arthas?
He may come back as a bad guy.
No. I doubt that we'll ever see Arthas come back, but I think that we'll see the Lich King come back because because at the end of Wrath of the Lich King, when Bovar puts on the helm, he's like, there must always be
a Lich King.
Could happen.
Yeah, absolutely, could happen. He could fall to the powers of the helm and wreak some havoc.
Vonus could go kick his ass and take it.
So
instead of a king, they'd have a queen. More terrifying.
Anyway, trust me, I would love to see Sylvanas as a raid boss. Like I love Sylvanas as a leader of the Horde, but we talked about this earlier this week. Like this is for a totally different episode. Lillian, I really do believe Lillian Voss will be the new leader of the Forsaken.
You know what? Let me say how much I absolutely adore Sylvanas. I had 2 like little dolls, statues. I have a Funko Pop of Sylvanas, and then I have one of the fancy. And you can see that the corner of my larger Sylvanas fancy action figure beside Hamlin. I love her. I love her to death.
Oh, literally. So do I. Her story is fantastic.
But if we get Lillian Voss as the leader of the Forsaken, I really, really could accept Sylvanas' death a little bit easier.
We should point out why we're speculating on this.
I totally tweeted out something because holy crap, it was incredibly ominous. One of the things that was brought up in the Legion live stream, and this is slightly off of the whole specifically why. I cannot say his last name, please forgive me, but if you watch the live stream and go to 18 minutes, 9 seconds in, Alex says, we will hoist up the fabled artifacts of those we have lost and those that have lost hope.
And I had to double check before the show that Tyrion Foldring still has Ashbringer in his hand and isn't at Hearthglen. And if you listen to what they say, that those epic weapons were the Retribution Paladin quest will start where they try to find where Ashbringer has been dropped in battle in the Broken Isle. Tyrion has the sword. Tyrion doesn't have the sword. What happened? So there is a speculation.
It makes you wonder if Tyrion's dead.
And not only that, we think that one of the weapons that they showed looked like Sylvanas' bow.
So there's flavor text. If you go to the Legion website right now, which is battle.net/Legion, I believe, there's flavor text on current NPCs. And Sylvanas Windrunners, I tweeted it out, and right after the show, or right after the live stream, her flavor text reads, "This Forsaken's ruthless leader is a formidable champion of her people, but with the burning Legion's invasion, the stakes for the Dark Lady have never been higher. Should Sylvanas perish, her demise will be the beginning of her eternal damnation. All that stand between her and this doom are her Valkyr, yet few of these spirit guardians remain. As her fate edges closer to the abyss, Sylvanas must decide how far she'll go to protect her people, and whether they're more precious to her than her soul." We're gonna lose Sylvanas.
Yeah, and we the speculation between the three of us has been that Tyrion we're gonna lose, Sylvanas we might lose. They're setting it up so that there are going to be heroes of Warcraft that are going to be lost in the first, like as soon as that expansion comes out. And I don't mean lost as in dead lost, but maybe there's like because there's going to be class quests, like specialization quests, like the Retribution Paladin has to go and find Ashbringer, but there's going to be a quest to go along with that, and that as we're going through these narratives for our specialization, that it's going to tell the story of famous characters in Warcraft. Like one of the weapons that they showed was Doomhammer. What the heck happened to Thrall for him not to have Doomhammer? That's like, whoa. These are all important questions that I think that, it's going to be really awesome to see. So that was a little bit about setting it up for the epic weapons. Now, talking about the mechanics of the weapons, Planis and I and Kailas, I don't know if you remember this or not, but at the start of, actually not the start, at the end of Wrath of the Lich King, going into Cataclysm, they talked about a new game mechanic that they were calling the Path of the Titan. Instead, what happened was that Cataclysm came out, they scrapped the Path of the Titans as a mechanic, and they gave us Mastery. And now we're seeing that our not epic weapon, the artifact weapon is going to have like abilities and slots that you're going to be able to equip stuff into it. As we were talking about the show, is like, okay, we have talents and we have glyphs, and now we have this other thing. How are they different, or are they? I want to make it so that those decisions are different enough to make it seem like you're playing your character the way that you'd like to play the character, but at the same time, I don't want it to be so cookie cutter that it's like, well, if you want to match your DPS, you have to play it this way. And that's a really fine-tooth thing to balance, which is why they scrapped Path of the Titans to begin with. They couldn't do it. And I really worry about that with these epic weapons. And I wouldn't be surprised if they toned down that particular mechanic because it's too ambitious. So guys, what do you think? What do you think the difference is between like your glyphs, your talents, and then the stats that do you think that you're just throwing stats onto your artifact weapon, or do you think you're actually going to be able to unlock abilities or modify abilities because of your weapon?
Oh, you're going to be able to unlock and modify. They've already mentioned one of the things that Ashbringer can do, which is replicate your attacks for a certain amount of time.
What about the Death Knight, though? Because the Death Knight had the ability to raise the dead, or raise an ally. It was raise the ally up to full health with full mana, and then it could also raise themselves. So that sounded like a whole new trait. That sounded like something that they don't do right now, but that gave them something new.
Yeah, it is totally new. Like,
Yeah,
So
so would you guys feel would you guys have a problem if we got no new talents going into levels 100 to 110, but instead of talents on our character sheet, the talents were actually part of our artifact weapon?
sold,
yeah,
Because that seems like the perfect compromise, right?
sold. Do it. Blizzard, you watching this? Do it.
it's funny. I actually tweeted Blizzard in a couple of the tweets about the show, hoping that maybe somebody would come and visit us and say hi. That's okay.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like, I remember back, like when I first started playing an enhancement shaman, there was Glyph of Lava Lash, which increased the damage of Lava Lash by 20%. Okay, Lava Lash for an enhancement shaman is one of those abilities that you use on cooldown. Every time it comes off cooldown, you use it, which means that unless you were using that glyph, you were actually at a disadvantage. Like, you weren't doing the most that you could do. So it wasn't really like you weren't making a choice. It wasn't a choice that Blizzard was giving you. It was basically a fundamental part of your character was having that glyph equipped. And I don't want to see that for the artifact weapons. I love the way the talents are currently set up, that that no talent is mandatory. All talents are situational. Like in some, like for example, I'm going to say that I play a holy paladin. When I raid, I use one set of talents to heal, and when I do a 5-man dungeon, I use a different one, because those ones that I use for a 5-man dungeon, they make more sense for a smaller group. But when I'm in a larger group, those other talents don't make sense. I would love to see stuff like that. I don't want to see like the abilities that I'm equipping into my artifact become mandatory, a mandatory part of the class. And I'll leave it with that with the artifact weapons, because the other questions I have about artifact weapons have already been answered. We will be able to transmog our artifact weapon to look like something else, which is cool for me. But you will not make your other weapons look like your artifact weapon.
I think it's. I think the artifact weapons allows to, even though it takes away legendary and weapon drops in the game, it allows you to expand your character. I think early on they're gonna have weapon drops, because I read it in one of the. They're
removing weapon.
I know MMO Champion said they're still gonna have some weapon drops early on, just for people to catch up.
Right? And I think green drops. You know, your enchanted gear, dumbest thing. I hate it. I think it's a chore to have to carry that stuff around. Crest rewards. That type of deal. I'm so glad that they're just giving us like, this is your epic weapon, because I don't know, Flatus, have you ever had like something that like is important to you? You don't like, for example, that has nothing to do with weapons. I have an old laptop that I first started gaming on from like 2006, and I didn't ever want to give that thing up, and I sort of feel that way about my characters who have weapons, like Trauma. Kailes, remember Trauma from Wrath of the Lich King?
Do I remember?
You wanted that drop.
That man woke me up screaming when he got that fucking drop. Of course I remember Trauma.
I don't want to have to give up those legendary drops, or not legendary, but those epic raid drops. I don't want to give them up just because a new tier of equipment came out. Like, I would rather build on the weapon that I already have. And I think that that's a great idea. Like, you get this weapon and you build it up as you build your character up. Fantastic idea.
And I will say this: I think that some people, I'll let it's a podcast called Stopcast, and I talk to Mike Stopcast a lot, and Mike over at Stopcast has said that he kind of doesn't like the fact that if weapon drops stopped, because he said that was his biggest thing. It was like, it wasn't the armor set, it was the weapon that always made him feel. But I feel like if we have this epic weapon to go and go seek out and do a quest line for and raise the level up, I think it'd be fantastic. It gives us this epic weapon that we know. Doomhammer, look at Doomhammer. Thrall, let's take a point out. Thrall, and I'm just all theory crafting, Thrall may be sad and really upset with what he had to do with Garrosh. He had to kill Garrosh, which he didn't want to do. He wanted to reason with him. He didn't want to kill him. He may be broken. He's like, what's the point of me having this? I want to quit. You take, the enhancement shamans go get to use Doomhammer. You know how awesome that is? That's Doomhammer.
What's awesome about Doomhammer, if you listen to them describe it, is that you'll use Doomhammer in your main hand, and in your offhand, you'll create an energy weapon.
That's awesome. That's so awesome.
That Doomhammer is your main hand, and then because of the power of Doomhammer, you'll create your offhand weapon out of that. And I think that, whoever came up with that idea, Blizzard, give them a raise. Just like that fantastic idea. Anyway, so moving off from the epic weapon, one of the things that they're doing with Legion that I picked up, that specializations are further being differentiated from one another. I think this is an important feature that they're adding into the game. The example that they gave is the fact that hunters are getting a dramatic change, that your survival hunter is going to be a melee DPS class with a pet. It's not going to be a ranged class anymore. Your marksmanship hunter is now going to be a ranged DPS without a pet, and your beastmaster hunter is going to be a ranged DPS with the pet. Those three classes are being differentiated apart so that you can see them perform differently, that playing them feels different. Talked about it before the show. There are two classes that really need that differentiation. Warriors and rogues. And not all the warriors, but the two DPS specs for warriors, that Arms Warrior and Fury Warrior, they feel exactly the same, play almost exactly the same. The only difference to them is one uses one big two-handed weapon, the other one uses two big-handed weapons, and you change stance. I would love to see that so that they feel different, that they act different. And then rogues are the other one. Like I see a rogue fighting, I can't tell what spec they are. They're behind the thing and they're stabbing it, and then they're shadow. I will admit that one spec uses swords, one-handed swords, and one spec uses daggers. I couldn't tell you which one it is. I couldn't tell you if it really matters.
Some of the daggers are big enough to look like swords. That's why.
Right.
Real quick, someone in chat said, I want to see what they do with Demonology Warlocks will be getting some bigger changes, focusing more on their demons. I would think that the Demonology spec it will be more of a demon-based spec. Like, you have maybe more demons in your roster than the other two specs, and thus allowing you to do more demon damage, and you sit back. I almost say like the not the marksman, but maybe like the survival hunter, where it's like your pet does some of your damage and you do, where you'll be long range with a pet and you're doing maybe less damage than what your pet is doing.
I do know that they said that they were that differentiating a demonology warlock from a demon hunter has to be something they do, because the demon that the warlock turns into, the metamorphosis, just looks too much like a demon hunter. And and I think that that's important. Like, I want the flavors of the classes to really emerge as their own, because when I first started playing Craft, you really only had 10 classes, because I started playing before there was really a Death Knight class. And maybe there was only 9 classes, and those specializations didn't really matter. I thought that at the time it was pretty cool, because you could play you could play a Frostfire mage, where you took some fire talents and you took some frost talents, and you built your own Frostfire mage. Holy Paladins used to be able to try and build a Shockadin, because they had a spell called Holy Shock, and it did damage. So you would try to maximize the damage that you could do as a Holy Paladin to become a Shockadin. Those days are over. But I would really love to see them differentiate the classes, so that rather than having, 12 classes, they all kind of feel the same, but like 36
Blizzard needs to make it right now. It's not like TCBY. It needs to be like TCBY, where you go in and it's like, man, what flavor do I want? Because they need to feel different. They need to. They absolutely need to feel different. I feel bad for rogues because they don't feel different. Like it's like, well, I just said behind the guy and stabbed him in the back a couple times.
Here's what I would love. Okay, right now, if your friend tells you that they want to play a rogue, you're like, okay, that's cool. And then they're like, okay, what? I want to maximize. I want to play in your raid and I want to perform well. What spec gives me the most damage? And there will be one spec of rogue that does more damage than the other two, and that's the one that you tell them to play. I don't want it to be like that. I want to be like, well, what type of rogue do you want to play? Because they have completely different play styles. You know, like Hunter right now. Like, I don't want to be like, well, right now Marksman does the best DPS, play a Marksman. I would rather be like, well, if you're playing a Hunter, do you want to be in there hitting things with your spear with your pet by your side? Do you want to be standing in the back with your pet way out there keeping the thing from attacking you? Or do you want to worry about a pet at all? Because if you don't want to worry about a pet at all, play a Marksman. If you want a melee, then play a survival. And I would love to be able to have those type of conversations. Kaios looks bored with this.
Absolutely. No. Well, you know, at the end of the day, though, like I think she would be really happy with it because like PvP is getting its own separate skill tree, which it needs. Like you know how much
it's needed that for 5 years.
The only way to make your classes feel fantastic, fun, and engaging, and so that way across the board everyone is pretty balanced, is by separating PvP into its own talent tree. PvP's always needed its own talent tree, and I feel bad that for 5 years it's been the same crap for 5 years. Granted, it almost feels like they've been working on PvP for a while now, just because they didn't release any new PvP zones.
Well,
same with professions.
I think that with the rise of esports, and we didn't talk about that at all, but I just want to throw out there that a 16-year-old won $1 million playing Dota 2 last night.
Yep, sure did. $1 million.
$1 million.
16.
I know that one of the things that Warcraft is looking at from their competitive PvP scene is that they don't have a pick and ban phase because there's no way for them to make it work. They're starting to get into it because like they'll do it like the losing team gets map choice. So the losing team says we're going to play on that map, on this map. The winning team might say, okay, well this map doesn't work for our normal comp, so we're going to choose a comp in a competition that works better on that map. So they say, okay, this is the map we're playing on, this is the composition that we're playing with, and then the other team gets to be like, okay, based on this map and what you're playing, this is the comp that we're playing. And then both teams now get to choose their talents at the same time with everything else locked into place. I think that as that emerges as like the competitive PvP scene, that PvP players in Warcraft will be so much happier that they won't need to pump out a new arena or a new battleground because players will start adjusting to how the game plays with those PvP talent trees.
I would say maybe not the first initial couple patches, but maybe like mid through, add a new arena, add a new battleground. Like because eventually like they're gonna get used to it. They're not gonna take long to get used to what their skills are. I would say give them some time, but then release a nice like battleground and new arena to allow them to get something out of it, and two, let them, you know, a battleground would be great. I like the battlegrounds. So
I would like to see them come out with like a whole slew of 5-man battlegrounds that you can play as rated battlegrounds. Because I think that the 3-person PvP scene for the arena deathmatch, it's not as interesting. I think that one of the things that League of Legends and Dota and Heroes of the Storm does well is they throw in those little PvP aspects of it, of the battleground. I think that a 5-player Warcraft battleground where there are PvP objectives that help you win, I think that is going to be, it's going to play more like Smite is what it'll end up doing.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think it'll be more for a competitive. It'd be more interesting to watch than it is now, because right now it's just like, well, who's the better outfit?
Well, I watch. So when Kaios and I were talking about last year, we launched a whole lot more StarCraft 2 tournaments because the Warcraft competitive scene just was really not very fun to watch. This year we watched a whole lot more Warcraft because they actually have like spectator clients. But I still find that Warcraft spectating is a little bit, it's not very engaging, because a lot of it is like, oh, that character's crowd controlled. Oh, that character's crowd controlled. And when you have a character in an arena that is like, it's a 10-minute arena battle and they spent 3 minutes of it crowd controlled, that's not a fun viewing experience. You want to see those people running around and playing their characters. And the only way to do that is to create PvE objectives so that they can, like, you know, hey, we captured this flag, or we got this point, or we released this thing. That will make it more enjoyable to watch, other than like, oh, there's the healer and he spent a third of the match crowd controlled. You know, that's not.
It's not fun.
It's not fun.
It's not. Yeah, I think giving them objectives like, as some of the new maps, for instance, like giving them like something that like a creature they can spawn that helps to attack the other side, that'd be great. Or statues they can control that does damage to the opposing team as they try to get to the other side. I think it's something they need to look at to entice people to want to play PvP. I always want to play PvP, but it gets boring really quick.
Right. And the reason why I say 5-man is because I think that 10-man is too much.
I agree.
It's just like trying to organize a competitive raid. Like, the more people you add, the harder it becomes to manage it. That's why I think that like flex raids now that go from like 10, you can start with 10, you can go all the way up to 30. That's a great idea. That's why I think that that you keep it small. 5-man, not 3, I think is too few. 10, I think is too much. 5, 6, 7, somewhere in there.
Also, I think, you know, they need to figure something out, because people still want those old days of Tarn Mill versus what's it called?
South Shore.
South Shore. Whatever. They suck. Tarn Mill. I like when they did like the anniversary in Tarn Mill. Like, I was having a blast because it was fun, but it sucked that it was you wait for the queue pop, you go in there, but it was still fun. It felt, you know, it was still Tarn Mill, but I think they need to give something for PvPs. Like, they need to make it so that PvP servers feel like, how's that going to work on a PvP server? Because then you have to do the PvE to level up. Like, these are all questions.
They've always given experience doing in Battleground, or well, they haven't always, but they added experience doing Battlegrounds. If you want to, you can just do Battlegrounds. The problem with it is that from how much experience hour of gameplay do I get? It's so much easier just to do the content, the PvE content, and then max level. Woo! There we go. We really need to move on, otherwise we're going to go over. One of the things that I saw that I did not, I'm not quite sure. I have objections to what I think I saw. Is when they're talking about building the class orders and the class halls so that like the paladins hang out there. I can see druids hanging out together. Druids got like they've got the whole moon. I forget the name of the zone, but they have the whole Moonglade going for them already. It's already in place. Druids, they don't really care about what faction. They all get along. I didn't want to go with the paladin example, so I was going to go with the warrior example. Like, you throw a human warrior, a orc warrior, a Gilnean warrior, a worgen, and a Forsaken warrior all in the same space and tell them to get along with one another. I just don't see it happening. The Forsaken destroyed Gilneas. Why would they ever get along? If you put an orc warrior and a human warrior together in the same room and they're getting along, it's not Warcraft. And in my not so very humble opinion, Warcraft is always orcs versus humans first. And then it's other stuff that's really cool to go along with it. But if you've got orc warriors and human warriors sitting together, I want none of that.
Even though they've said that the classes are the reason why we're going to fight the Brain Legion back, is that they're all banding together to fight the Legion. Like, you feel like it should be like, there should be a Horde class hall and a Alliance class hall still. And then everyone...
got like 5 expansions, like the Argent Crusade, you know, it was, hey, we're working together to kill the Lich King, but the Horde and the Alliance are fighting their own battles at the same time. Mystic Pandera was like the ultimate, like the whole Alliance and the Horde were fighting through that whole expansion, and it really made sense. I don't ever want to see that. I mean, like, that's too integral to what the game is about. Otherwise, just why do we continue to have factions to begin with? If everybody is getting along with everybody and having a good time, why can't I play my blood elf and say I want to go to Stormwind and get along with everybody? Come on, guys, I'm just an elf. Why do you hate me?
Right?
You know,
we were friends. We were friends before.
Right, and I they have run into like that gamut of like conflicting, like when the Alliance players play through Cataclysm, and Thrall is an integral part of the Cataclysm experience. All of the Alliance players, they can understand what Thrall's saying. Do they speak Orc, or does Thrall speak English or human? Common.
It's common.
Again, they juggle it a little bit. I think that when you drop the ball while you're juggling the war between the factions is when you put all of the classes together and they're getting along.
No, I think maybe the idea is that since they're fighting a common evil, because regardless, if they're fighting against each other, the Burning Legion wins, right? Because we saw the picture of what Azeroth would look like if the Burning Legion won. Remember, like, Ian Hazakosis was on stage. If I was wrong, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was the other guy, Tom Chilton. Maybe was on stage when he showed that small clip of what Azeroth would look like if the Burning Legion won. Everything was burnt black. The Felfire was everywhere. Maybe it's more of our leaders are fighting, our factions are fighting, but us as players, or me as a leader, as they said, I'm trying to say, you know what, screw these guys. Like, we gotta fight the Legion and push it forward.
I understand that point, but I think that you lose too much of what the game is if it is if the orcs and the humans are getting along. The factions. And I will say that the reason because of this, and you brought it up when it was Terran Mill versus South Shore. My first experience in World of Warcraft was World PvP. We wrecked South Shore. They wrecked Terran Mill. They put us on res timers, and then the next week we came back and we put them on res timers. I remember when, if you had a character of one faction on a server, you couldn't have a member of the other faction on that server. And I remember when they removed that. And I'm like, I don't like that. I want everybody if you're playing Horde, you play Horde on this server. You don't play Alliance, because there's too much, secret stuff going back and forth between the two.
Yeah.
And then they removed that restriction. And I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. And like, I want to see that World PvP come back. I love Winter Grasp.
Oh, Winter Grasp is great. I would trust me. I would like to see a zone that is a PvP zone in the Broken Isles, not what we got with Draenor, because that sucked. But like a real PvP zone that had maybe included dungeon in there, where it was that made it.
Was not that was the best part of Winter Grasp? You guys
you kids can't run the dungeon.
We're gonna go get our raid loot. See ya.
See nerds.
Right? And like Tolbarid, even though I didn't think that Tolbarid wasn't as fun as Winter Grasp, I still had fun running around in there. And then I think that, like, because Mists of Pandaria didn't have that PvP zone, it really felt like it was missing something. And Warlords of Draenor, I haven't done any world PvP in Warlords of Draenor at all. Who needs to? They can't attack your garrison. It's phased. You're like, see ya.
Nope.
I'll go hang out in my garrison and do my missions, collect my loot and my gold.
Yep.
So we're at like 3 minutes until the top of the hour.
We may go slightly. Slightly. If you could push through these, we may get through them. Specialization is becoming more important.
No, we already covered that.
We already did that too. Will there be flying? All right, we can do this real quick.
The Q&A from this morning said that flying will not be immediately offered for Legion. However, unlike Warlords of Draenor, you will know how to unlock it when they're ready to let you fly.
Yep. So that means that
Um,
we could suspect that it's going to be just like the Draenor, where it's
It's
explore
absolutely.
the
You're good.
yeah, exactly. It's going to explore the world, get the
Um,
achievements, and you'll be able to launch off the ground.
Right. Will LFR get tier sets again? I really, really doubt it. That was part of their reasoning from removing the set bonuses from LFR set, is they didn't want hardcore raiders feeling like they had to run LFR to get the tier sets to compete in the raid, the heroic and mythic versions of the raids. They just want you like, hey, if you're a heroic raider, your tier from one set will go right into the next set, and then you'll be ready to rock. You don't need to drop down to LFR to gear up to be able to compete. LFR is basically for the people that like running LFR.
LFR, I feel real quick. I was say LFR should be more of a story mode where it's easier for people that just want to see the story.
That's what they should rename it. They shouldn't call it LFR. They should call it story mode.
They should just call it story mode. They really could. They should just say, this is the story. That's it. Just run through it with some people. Get some loot. Get some loot. Either way, you still get some loot at the end of it. But it's story mode.
The improved transmog system, I don't necessarily think it's a new feature exactly, but it's something that we've been asking for, because I currently have 3 transmog sets, and I know Kylest has about the same or more than I do. So the fact that I can lock in a transmog set and then not carry around that gear in my void storage or on my person anymore, thumbs up. I think it's something that needs to be added.
Absolutely.
Kylest?
Sorry, my teenage son was banging on a wall and scared the crap out of me because he thought something was wrong. So I've been mildly distracted, telling him to stop banging on shit if everything is okay.
Hey!
And then for the question, will we be getting more talents at a level 110? I think that it's better to stop giving characters talents and just put it on the artifact weapon, so that it's a continuation of the same system, but it's a continuation of the system in an interesting way instead of the same old.
Yeah, I think it's a better way of going about it.
All right, we are at the top of the hour. That's 7 Pacific and 10 Eastern.
Do we want to do that last thing at the very bottom there?
That was Angela put that in there.
Oh, okay.
We already covered that.
Oh, we did. Yeah, all right.
Oh, but unless you want to talk about who that Alex guy is, she did a little research.
I did do a little research, didn't I?
Do you want to?
Way back in the day, he used to play a rogue in EverQuest, and he was the first rogue to level 50.
He was named Caloran, so.
Yeah, thank you. It was like his name.
You're welcome.
And as a matter of fact, that guild that he was part of is actually pretty famous. That Fires of Heaven is actually their guild is now re-rolled.
Yep. So.
That I didn't know.
Their guild forums actually turned into re-rolled, and there was I don't know the specifics. I know that it wasn't intentional exactly, but yeah, Fires of Heaven is now re-rolled. All right, final thoughts before we camp out.
Kylest.
Yeah, I'm Hunters. I'm really.
We didn't talk at all about Demon Hunters.
We did.
Yeah, I know. Like we didn't even talk once about it. And I was like, guys, we're talking about all this shit that.
I could take less than 50 minutes to describe it. We're getting a new heroic class, Demon Hunters.
Elf only. You have to be an elf to be a demon hunter.
Yeah, you have to be.
Night elf, blood elf. That's
but you
it.
get horns, and your armor is based so you can see your tattoos. All leather.
So yeah. And sexy, and you get demon wings if you're a DPS, and you get these really awesome what look like stone wings if you are a tank.
Havoc is DPS.
Yes, Havoc and Vengeance.
And Vengeance is the tank.
And double jump. Only class to have double jump.
And double jump.
That's a Mario theme.
Boom, did it.
All right.
Hi, my final. Legion looks like it's going to be if the content is there, if the content supports all the features, the content is there. I am down. I am down for it. WoW needs great content again, and if Legion can deliver that, then I'm sold. I'll play. I'll play Legion. Yes.
I want the week. You know how they do like the pre-release events, right? However long their pre-release event is, like, will
they said that. So they're going to do it.
Please rain down the fire of the frightening, undefeatable fell effing reavers. So when I hear that noise, it's time to run. Because I know I have zero chance of surviving this encounter. Rain down the fiery green fell infernals from the sky. Scare the crap out of me. Make me fear death. Because seriously, this is supposed to be the largest demon invasion we have ever seen. Make me scared.
I think they should do that too. Between the release and now, do that.
My final thoughts are, until EverQuest Next comes out, Vanguard gets loaded up and someone brings it back online, or another MMO comes out that is better than what's currently on the market, Warcraft is just end up what I'm going to end up playing. Yeah. For good or bad, because I can't convince my friends to play anything else. I think that and part 2 of that is that they can't do any worse than Warlords of Draenor.
Yep, they can only go up. Like I said, if
don't say that, don't fucking say that.
Listen, if they have the content, I think both of you, I'll be happy, and I think the rest of the cast will be happy if the content is there.
Right, I am a science fiction and fantasy aficionado. I enjoy it all. I read what I can get my hands on. Warcraft is just one of those ones that I enjoy reading when I get the chance. I play it because my friends play it. I'm really waiting for something new, and there just doesn't seem to be anything new out at the moment.
Yeah. Well, listen, Warcraft. It's still the king of the throne as of right now, in sub numbers. Content-wise, we don't know, but sub numbers, they're still the king. So that being said, thank you all for joining us for episode 67. You are not prepared, but you're kind of more prepared because we did.
Did you practice that? Like how do you are not prepared.
You are not prepared. We can do that.
You guys are
okay, Kyla, yeah. Come on. Let's hear yours.
Oh hell no! I'm a girl. I can't.
So, come on.
When we can do boy things.
Come on. We did it.
Guys, really?
Yes, really.
Hell no. Where's y'all are you.
Come on.
All right. Well.
I'm gonna. So you know how I used to throw shit at my husband? Now I keep a spray bottle on my desk.
You're like a cat.
Go ahead, give it to me. Oh.
That's.
Feels good. Did I mention we live in the desert?
He was totally prepared for that, wasn't he?
Yeah, we live in the desert. That is the door to the outside right there. See, that is the burning wrath of the sun emanating from that door. I am hot.
Keep the sun well behind you. All right, guys. Thank you.
Somebody camp us out.
Yeah, I think it should be Kyla since she didn't say you were not prepared.
You are not prepared
for countdown. Oh, okay.
You happy?
Of course, always.
You were not prepared to camping in 5, 4, 3, 2.
See y'all next week.